There we go.
Okay, Laura, could you put the agenda up for one quick second, since we don't have a time frame anymore? Since I don't to follow the
and there you go. Can you see the agenda?
Take that away. Yeah, I guess that's it. Agenda. Welcome, call to order done. Introduction. Introductions. Let's see, who don't we know? Everyone, let's start with Dorit, since she's the presenter tonight.
Hey y'all, I'm Dorit. I'm a member of this committee and a member of the board, and I live in the Sugar Hill district of UNNC.
Next, I can only see one person at a time right now. Okay, let's see. Vanessa? I can't see who's who.
I'll go next. I'm Teresa Masonette. Hi, everybody. And I'm also on the board of the UNNC, and I represent the West Adams Avenues.
Welcome, welcome, Teresa.
Hi, Miss Tori.
Hi.
Sorry, I was having issues with my volume. Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa Gutierrez. I'm from LASA, and I'm the Community Relations Coordinator, helping with the homeless count.
Right. And for those who don't know what the acronym LASA stands for, let them know.
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot. Housing Authority, Homelessness
Los Angeles
Service Authority.
Homelessness Services Authority.
There we go.
She's very new, so she's jumping in and learning all she can. But she's also helping us with the count, so we'll give her a few words during public comment to say we have 1 to 2 minutes to, enlighten them in a few minutes after the introductions. Okay, next. I can't see anybody.
How about Corrine?
Hi, everybody. This is Corinne Elbridge. I'm new to the board. I've just been appointed a Region 2 rep, and I'm happy to be here. Hi, everybody.
Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Who else we have?
Well, me. I'm Laura Myers, and I am on the board. I'm its current president. And your Zoom host.
Thank you, Laura. Is Hugh on? Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't seem to be.
Okay. I know I need to be in. Okay, so after we finish the introductions, I'm Tori Bailey, the chair of the committee, and the ongoing workers seem like not just in CD10, but whoever calls asks me for help. So I have to work on that. But so far, we've been doing really good with donations and helping people move into their permanent housing and just being of assistance. So right now, today, I'm gonna introduce Dorit again as, no, we're gonna do public comments first. So Vanessa, you can start.
And Tori, is it okay if I stop the screen share?
Sure.
Thank you. How many minutes do I have, Tori?
1 to 2 minutes.
Okay. So basically the homeless count is the largest census count that happens in the nation. And it's here in LA, and it's from the 25th through the 27th. South LA is going to be on the 27th. Sorry, those are January 25th through the 27th, 2022.
Oh yeah.
Right. And we do this so we can understand the funding for where the most homelessness is happening. We can identify the data and then provide those resources for those local communities. We're doing it new on a phone app to get better data, but basically we're looking for volunteers to help participate in that. In SPA 6 or South LA by itself needs about 800 volunteers, and countywide we need about 8,000. So we are looking to recruit. I can add the link Can I add the link in the chat? Is that all right? For volunteers to register. I can also provide a flyer as well. So that's homeless count in a nutshell. Did I miss
Well,
anything, Tori?
hopefully-
Laura, we're not supposed to ask questions during public comment.
Yep,
Okay.
no, I'm raising
Right.
my hand to do a public comment.
Oh, silly. me.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, great. So yeah, if you guys can just help promote and help recruit, that'd be phenomenal. Thank you.
Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting. We do use the chat, and we use the chat for to post motions or information like Vanessa's going to do. Or if you're having trouble raising your hand and you want to speak. We have been basically given marching orders from Dunn that since we insist on having the chat, that the chat will, for each meeting, will be saved, which we do already, and appended to the minutes. So I want everyone to know that whatever you put in the chat is going to be part of the permanent record of the meeting and will be part of the minutes of this committee. Thank you.
Well, that's good. That's a good public comment to know. So Vanessa, you're putting in the theycountwillyou.org or? Can you hear me? Vanessa?
Sorry, yes, I was
Okay,
shaking my
yeah.
head. I'll put it in the chat right now.
Yeah, because remember, I can't see you unless you're
Okay,
speaking.
sorry. Yeah, I got you. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, with no further ado, we have a short meeting to, I'm gonna go ahead and, is public comment, anyone else in public comment? Anything ordinary with homelessness lately? Okay, so if anybody sees anybody and they're out in the rain, we can refer, the closest winter shelter for us is Ward AME Church, straight down east of it on Adams Boulevard near 25th Street. So Ward AME Church. Okay, and feel free to refer anyone down to the shelter. Okay, so that's the part that we can also help with. Okay, with no further ado, I want to introduce yourself, Maris. And Maris,
That's probably Hugh. Maris is.
oh, yeah, that's right, Hugh. Tell Hugh, could he
And
introduce
he's
himself?
not, he's still joining.
Okay. Well, let's let Hugh get situated, and everybody please take notes of everything that's in the chat. So you'll have that information as well, so we can all start recruiting. And also, I believe our site will not be home this year. It will be Exposition Park, and that should be on the website as well. So that's the first in a long time. Okay. Okay, Hugh, you good? Okay, well, Dorit, since we're finishing early today, I'm gonna let you go ahead and get started. I would like to welcome Dorit to give us some very interesting information regarding one of the councilman's motion that we're gonna talk about possibly creating into a community impact statement. Okay, with no further ado, Dorit, you have the floor.
Hey there, everybody. Thank you, Tori. In the package of materials, there is the motion from Council Member Sadia to increase funding for drug treatment and increase beds for drug treatment for persons experiencing homelessness, homeless folks, and to distribute a drug that helps people, that turns around ODs. So there's been we lose a lot of folks every year who are experiencing homelessness to drug overdoses, to opiate overdoses. It's not just unhoused people who die of opiate ODs. People who are housed do as well, but we're talking right now about unhoused folks, and that's what this motion is about. I really wanted to make sure everyone read it because there's a couple of things in there that some people might not agree to. First, I want to talk about Narcan. Narcan is this. It is a nasal spray that can turn around an OD. So if someone's ODing on a opiate-based drug, fentanyl, heroin, or the like, this is a nasal spray that someone can administer, just sticks it up their nose, sticks it up another person, you can't do it on yourself, and reduces the OD. It's a very powerful thing to do. It is a very emotional thing to do. It's really not something that everyone wants to be able to do, but it's something that does indeed save lives. I've never done it myself, but I have seen it being done. And I helped in the process of getting someone like to the hospital after this was administered. So this motion calls for all agencies that are funded by any money that comes from the city of Los Angeles, any agencies that work with people experiencing homelessness, works with homeless folks who are getting any kind of city money, and that's money that goes through LAHSA, that city money that goes to LAHSA, then goes back to the agency, that everyone has to be trained on how to use Narcan, and everyone has to, all outreach workers, all shelters, all drop-in centers have to have enough Narcan on hand that they could use it if someone is ODing. I don't think there's any objection to that, most likely from people on this committee. But I do want to point out that it also calls for further moves that the chief legislative officer be directed to identify and report in 30 days all city departments that have contact with or provide services to people experiencing homelessness, and indicate if the department provides employees with Narcan training and distributes along, basically it calls for asking how many departments deal with people experiencing homelessness, and how many of them have people who are trained to use this opiate reversing drug. I personally am in favor of that. I'm in favor of all libraries having this, all the police officers who are out there carrying this on them, fire department, everything like that. But I can understand that some people may not think it's appropriate for a librarian to be administrating a nasal spray that turns around an OD. So I just wanted to point that out before we even talk about writing the CES and if we want to move forward. In addition to those two things, which, like I say, I think were the most controversial, and that's why I really wanted I wanted to say it up front so no one can say later that they didn't know was in there. It calls for increasing beds in treatment centers, like people who are getting substance abuse treatment, then make sure there's beds for them instead of having them go back to the streets. Make sure there is Medi-Cal, which is the Medicaid, the California's version of Medicaid, kicks in sooner to pay for drug treatment programs, make sure the drug treatment programs, people get to stay with them longer as long as they need it instead of getting kicked out before they may be ready. Another controversial thing it does call for is increasing syringe exchange programs, needle exchange. Now, some people also find that to be controversial or something they don't approve of or don't agree with. I personally, the agency I work with, we do give out needles, so I have no problem with it, but I understand that it may not be something everyone is supporting. So now that I have stumbled in explaining this motion, because I'm not the world's greatest speaker, I'd like to know, questions? Anyone got questions? And then we're going to discuss if we want to write a CIS, and then we'll write the CIS. So everyone shoot me with some questions.
Paula has a question. Paula.
Hi, Paula.
Hey, everybody. No, I took my hand down because my question was, how is it administered? And I read further and saw it's a nasal spray.
Yes, it's really easy to use. It's just, you stick it, someone's ODing, you think they're ODing, you check and make sure it's actually happening. You yell their name, you shake them, you see if they can be responsive. If they're not, you let them know that you're going to be using this on them. You stick it in their nose, you press the little red button here. I really wish we were live and I could pass this thing around instead of like showing it through
No, that's okay. This is good.
Zoom thingy. And you just give them a nasal spray, and then you turn them on their side and make sure they don't roll over on their belly or roll on their back. And you make sure 911 is called, because even if you use this, someone's still got to get to the hospital. Love to answer any other questions. And if any,
Well,
I'm
I have
going
a
to call on
comment.
Hugh for a second, because Hugh actually is a nurse. I don't know if you want to explain more about how this process works.
I don't
If
need
you even
further
know, if you're trained in it.
explanation. It actually sounds good to me.
Okay. Glad to hear that.
I have a comment.
Okay,
Now,
go for it.
being an observer working with the Project Room Key, I would like to see those steps in the motion. And hopefully they preface it with someone with compassion, because I almost see it as a couple of the nurses were trying to use it as a routine. And sometimes they're just in a deep sleep. You know, sometimes it takes more than a little shake. You know, sometimes you have to make sure, you know, like you said, make sure that they're not ODing or anything or in that state. And so I don't want people to go around using it as a first response to someone that looks like they're sleeping, just sleeping hard, you know, because believe it or not, once
You're
you're in a Project Room Key where there's an actual bed, they
Mm.
really take a deep sleep and comfortable and safe. So sometimes they may not answer the door when you first knock.
Mm.
And so when they're doing their wellness checks and they don't answer the first couple of knocks, depending on how you're knocking, they may not even hear it. So don't automatically assume that this is a person having an overdose episode. So
Mm.
that's
What you're
one of the
saying is, so what you're saying is, if we do write the CES, you want it included to ensure proper training of anyone who is required to use this.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Ensure proper training.
Yes, that has to be one of the the preface with that. Someone with compassion, someone who wants to do it, not mandatory to do it. I mean,
So
let's word it in a way, yeah, just make sure that's part of the policy and procedure, those
So you're
steps.
saying it should be voluntary only.
Not only because a nurse more is supposed, that's their duty if they're on staff and they're going around doing room checks and wellness checks. But say for instance, if it's when they go around and deliver the food, you may have maybe a case manager, you may have just an office staff, or you may just have a disaster worker going up to the door. Now, what if none of them are trained? So when they do wellness checks, make sure that one of them is trained to do this.
I don't know if we want to do a CIS that's specific for Project Room Key, but
No,
yeah.
not, you know what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
Somebody's doing a wellness check. Somebody may. How do you, if you're walking down the street, how does the average person know when somebody's ODing?
No, but I'd like to get the feeling, do we want to say for city workers, not necessarily people who work with homeless? I think people who work with homeless, you're not going to get into this gig unless you're willing to use this stuff.
Right.
We want to say that for city employees, that it should be voluntary based only if they're required to take the training. I'm going to call on you in a second, Teresa.
Yeah.
I'm following up with Tori's question here.
Yeah, because let me see. Are we just gonna address city workers? Is that he's just, I read the whole thing.
It's for people who work in homeless services, as well
Right.
as city employees who come in
Right.
contact through their jobs with people experiencing homelessness.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. We'll preface it with that.
Teresa.
Thank you, Dorit. I just want to make sure I understand. The reason why you reference librarian is because that sometimes homeless people are in the libraries.
Yes.
And
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
they need to be experienced well, I guess during this training, they'll be able to identify if someone has OD'd. But I thought this Narcan only worked if you get to that person within a certain amount of time.
Yes, but if, say a librarian is there and somebody is OD'd in the library.
Right. Yeah, but when someone ODs, it's not like they go into convulsions, like they're having an attack. They could just, ingest
There's
or
some kind of
shoot up and then
identification.
just go to
Right.
sleep.
Yes,
So how would a librarian, so part of the training for the librarian would have to be, you have to be able to identify, as you're walking through, you have to recognize that this could be a unhoused person. And then you have to notice that they were awake and now they're not awake, or you do an inspection in the bathroom and then there's somebody sprawled out on the floor, and then at that point they would go about administering the Narcan, right?
yes.
Right.
And what you're asking us is if we think that librarians and other city workers who are not engaged with the unhoused, if they should be required to get this training so they can
No,
then help them.
I'm sorry. I know I stumble a lot because when I get nervous, I stutter. So forgive me for not being very eloquent when I speak. Librarians, cops, firefighters would be, based on this motion, would be in the category of people who should receive this training. And
Right.
when I said something might have been unkosher earlier, I meant that some people might take objections to saying that a librarian would be required to take this training when no one went to library school. No one got their master's in library sciences thinking that they were going to be sticking something up someone's nose.
And I'm with you. I agree with that statement, actually. I can see how it could be required of policemen, firemen, people who will be responding in an emergency to someone
Bus driver.
has overdosed. I mean, that's who you're going to call 911. So it may not just be EMS, it could be the police or the fire department that arrives. And yes, they should be qualified, but I feel that's a lot to put on a librarian to, monitor and then also say, oh, well, I don't know, maybe he's in a deep sleep, or maybe he is, this person has OD'd. Let's just give him the Narcan. I mean, I don't know. I just feel that's a lot. Are there any other non-emergency people that you think they may be required?
Honestly, it doesn't say here. I'm going to call Vanessa in a second. It doesn't say here. It just says all city departments that come in contact with persons experiencing homelessness. So libraries just come to mind because I spend a lot of time at libraries and I know what goes on. So Vanessa has her hand up next. I'd like to call on her.
I just wanted to add, working at nonprofits with youth, they actually train their staff to have this. And I've seen 2 youth actually almost overdose. And it is a short time frame that you can ingest it or, use this on somebody to save their life, but it is also for non-emergency people. It could be churches that it's better to be trained and have the item than to wish you had it and someone just died in front of you. So I think that's the bigger picture. I think what we're trying to.
Vanessa, have you ever had to use it yourself on somebody?
Yes, I have.
And it's very emotional, I know. Hugh, your hands up?
Someone has a mic on and voices coming in the background. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. So the idea behind the Narcan to start with is that there's very little to no risk or danger to a person who receives this and doesn't need it. So in other words, if a person were to just be sleeping very soundly and not respond, and you spray this thing in their nose, nothing happens to them. Okay, that's a very important part of this discussion. The reason why is that any medication that is prescribed, given out to be used by the public, the first question is there a risk that they will do damage with it? Okay, so that doesn't exist at all with this medication. If the person's just sleeping, they don't have any opiates in their system, this medication does nothing to them, which is why it's being considered safe to give out to pretty much anybody to have. Whether you choose to use it or not is the next step, okay? So even if you're trained, you wouldn't necessarily have to choose to use it. But if you aren't trained and you don't have it, then the choice to use it doesn't exist. So what I would suggest is think about this as you would think about CPR. I'm pretty sure that all city employees, all librarians, for instance, are required to take CPR training. They have the information, and every library has an AED now. An AED is a device that you use to put pads on a chest. It automatically determines if there's a heart rate, helps the person decide whether or not they're going to do compressions on the person. Again, there's no risk to the person. If I hook those pads up to someone, it can't hurt them, right? So there's no reason why it shouldn't be available. Now, if the librarian is there, has the training, has the Narcan, just like they have the CPR training, have the AED, if they choose not to do anything with all of that training and with it, you can't hold them accountable for not doing anything. It isn't their duty to respond, to do something. Unlike a nurse, for instance, if I didn't choose to use the equipment, didn't choose to respond, then I could place my license at risk because I chose not to act. But that doesn't happen for a city worker who's not a nurse. Right? So what this motion is basically doing is providing the people with the information and making sure that the medication is available so that it is possible to use it to save a life. It isn't mandatory that they do it. It's only mandatory that they be ready to if they choose to. Right? The specific question about finding someone asleep in the library and, can you recognize whether or not they're just sleeping or if they're overdosing? The answer is you can't. Absolutely no way. The only way you can tell is if they've stopped breathing. And again, is this something that a librarian is supposed to be able to determine? Absolutely not. A librarian should be able to see if the person has been there for a while and isn't moving, and maybe they need to be awakened as opposed to sleeping in the library. If we awaken them, fine. If you try to awaken them and nothing happens, then you do the next step of maybe I need to call 911. If the librarian has the Narcan on them, then they could say to themselves, oh, I have this medication, I could try this. Or I could choose to wait till the fire department gets there and not try it.
And by that time, they might be dead.
Absolutely. But there's no requirement that they act, okay?
No.
This is just making it available to choose to help if they want to. And if they do choose to, you can't hurt anyone by doing this. So anyway, I'm just trying to clarify a little bit about the medication itself, about the reason why it's being considered something so safe that we can give it out to anyone. In other words, it's on the same realm of let's teach everybody CPR. If you choose to use it, for instance, with CPR, how many people who take the training and then 7 months later or a year later actually end up doing it? Do they do it right? Absolutely not. Okay. But it isn't about doing it right. Just doing whatever you can increases the chance of the person living. The Narcan, the same story. Do you do it right? Is it done? All you're doing is increasing the risks of saving a life. It's not about actually doing it. We hope it works. How much time can a person be without breathing and have to get the Narcan to save their life? If they're not breathing for 10 minutes, you've probably gone too long. But with a person who's overdosing, they will continue to breathe and breathe slower and slower and slower until they stop breathing. So in that time period between they're so exposed to the opioids that they can't wake up, and the time that they actually stop breathing completely can literally be hours. Usually isn't hours, usually, within an hour, somewhere maybe even minutes. The point being though, between the time that they need it and when you can recognize it, there can be quite a bit of time. And again, we don't know that.
Thank you, Hugh. For those that you don't know Hugh, he's a nurse. He's a nurse and works with, may I say where you work?
Yeah, I get to work at the VA. I work in a psychiatric unit.
Yeah, so he's a very beneficial for us to know, and thank you so much for explaining all that. I'm going to call on Tori, and then I have to say that we only have 10 more minutes left, so we're going to have to think about if we want to write the CAS and I guess write it so we can submit it to the board written. So Tori and then Laura. Tori?
It's two other hands other than mine up. I can't tell who it is to read, but my statement was, before Hugh said about the CPR, is for Teresa to think of it as everyone having a first aid kit. Because the Narcan 9 times out of 10 is gonna be in the first aid kit. And so, like he said, it's a matter of choice. Do you want to help someone live? Then that would be our choice. And it is not painful. I mean, it could be emotional, but think about saving someone's life. And I think that we should go ahead and do the CIS and add our comments into the motion. Okay, 2 more people, then we can talk about it.
Only one other person has their hand up. Would be Laura. Laura?
Yeah, I support this. I do want to say, you don't need to write the line by line 1,850 characters and spaces exactly tonight. What you should try and do is decide if you want to do the CIS and the major bullet points of it. And then Dorit, you and if you want to consult with one other person, just prepare a full-fledged one for the governing board agenda, because there's no way in 12 minutes or whatever is left you can write a CIS. My only concern with this, and right now it's just the motion is to bring information back to the council, but will an employee of the city of LA whose primary job is not working with homeless population, so whether, we keep using librarian, but there may be others, if it's not their primary job, will they be covered by the city's insurance if something goes wrong? And
so in the CIS,
am I saying that right?
I understand what you're saying. So in the CIS, we should say no liability should be, no one should.
No good Samaritan should be experience liability or something like that.
VILTY. Okay, I get that. So no one should be held accountable if they use it wrong, or if as long as they're not a nurse or something or a doctor, no one should be held accountable if they choose not to use it or use it use it wrong.
Or instead of saying a negative, how about the city should provide liability for all of the people that it trains?
No.
Okay, cool.
No.
Thank you.
So that's why in the verbiage he had already said that see, the goal is that anyone has been trained, there's a log of anybody who's been trained, and then at the time of administration they will be covered. This is just something that comes with the line of duty, but let them say if there's a choice, or I'll help you with the verbiage offline.
So Laura, thank you, Tori. Laura, are you saying only 2 people can work on it? Can 3 people? Well, actually, could we ask Hugh to help us since Hugh is not a board member? Actually,
yeah,
I'm the only board. So if I ask Hugh and Tori to help me with this, since the 2 of them are not board members, am I kosher? Am I cool?
You're kosher. Tori would be in effect Brown Act deemed a board member since she's the chair, but Hugh is not. So yes, all 3 can work on it.
Hugh, and I just want Hugh, because you're like smart and you understand this medical stuff that I may not. So
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I used to be a director in the hospital for this verbiage, the language and accountability. So between you on the theoretical hands-on side and Tori on the administrative, we'll have it right.
Super duper. Should we take a vote if this committee wants to send this to the board? I'm sorry, can we take a vote? Tori?
Do you
You're
need
the
to make
chair.
a motion, Dorit?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I make the motion that we take a vote vote on having Tori, Hugh, and Dorit put together a CIS to be submitted to the January governing board meeting. Anybody want to second that?
I think you need to
This is Paula.
qualify it, do a community impact statement in
Sorry.
support of the motion with a
You're
few
right, you're right.
amendments. Yes.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
being a dork again. Do a CIS in support of this motion.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So
I'm sorry. Moved
we have
by
to take a
Dorit
vote?
and seconded
seconded
by,
by, I thought Paula said seconded.
Yes.
Yeah, I recognize Paula's
Yeah.
voice now. I don't even have to see her speak. I know who it is. Who's gonna call the vote? Who's gonna do the roll call?
Right.
well,
Q.
I
He's
think you
taking
can
notes.
just do a show of hands.
Yeah.
Well, if we could see them all. Can you see them all, Laura?
Well,
make
you
my
can
hand go
either
up
raise
there.
your virtual hand or raise your video hand.
1, 2, 3.
The body's still alive.
So it looks like everyone except for the call-in person.
Right.
Yay,
Good.
folks, thank you. Tori and Hugh will communicate by email, okay? Starting tomorrow.
Right.
Okay, sounds good.
And we have figured out, because we started counting things, that the body of a community impact statement should be no more than 1,850 characters and spaces. And that leaves us room for the blah, 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 the United Neighborhoods of the Historic Arlington Heights, the whole name, voted on, blah, 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 date. So just leave it at 1850 if you can. Then that's count the, your Word document can count characters and spaces.
We'll make it at 18.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Super duper. And I will give this back for the next 6 minutes for the rest of the meeting. Thank you, folks.
Okay, if you look at the chat before we dismiss, make sure you see the note that Vanessa put in there regarding the site change for the homeless count. It will not be at Holman for the first time in, I don't know, about 8 years, I guess. It will be at Exposition Park, but everything's different during these times. And I hope everyone and their families are fine, and we will continue to, I don't know when we'll be able to meet in person, but my church is finally open on Sunday afternoons now. If we need to see each other before we can through the neighborhood council, but I'm really excited to get this work done despite of it all. So we will adjourn so the next meeting can happen. And I'm thanking everyone for attending. And Hugh and Dorita, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, and good to see you, everyone else, Paula, Vanessa, etc.
Oh, wait. One other question. Well, I'm so sorry. For Paula and Karine, I'm doing a quorum check. We may need to have a brief special meeting of the governing board next Tuesday between 7:30 and 8. Before at 8 o'clock, we'll have the special meeting of the, it doesn't really exist, but we're going to try Public Safety Committee. And would either or both of you be available? I'm going to do a quorum check via email, but would you be available for that?
What's the date again?
Next Tuesday, the 21st at 7:30. And it'd be brief. This may not happen. It's just there's an item that we run out of time on.
I am sure I have a 6 o'clock commitment. I'm not sure if I'll be
Okay, I'll
back.
send
I'm
you an
not sure how
email,
long it's
Paula.
gonna be. Okay.
Karina, I'm guessing you're a yes because you're going to the 8 o'clock meeting anyway, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Tori,
Okay, nice meeting you, Corinne, virtually.
Tori,
Likewise.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Tori.
Vanessa, you can always call me for terminology.
Well, that was for the
Okay.
CPR. I was saying,
Oh, the
look that
CPR.
up. Similar, the NORCAN, the verbiage for
Oh,
that.
yeah. Okay, sounds
Thank
And
you.
good.
Vanessa,
Well,
thank
the
you for
book-
coming to all of our meetings.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Yes.
I hope you enjoy them and it's not just work.
No, I do. I enjoy it. Always a party over here.
She always learns something new.
This is very true. All right,
Yeah.
y'all. Be safe.
night.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
good night, everyone. Thanks you. Thanks, Laura.
Oh, you're also
See you.
welcome.
Okay, talk to you soon.
And happy holidays for those I don't see
Oh,
again this
Happy
month.
holiday. Yes, I'm sure
Okay,
we'll
I'm
see
gonna
better
end,
from-
I'm gonna officially end the meeting now.
Okay, sounds good. Meeting
Thank
adjourned.
you. Bye.